I never thought I would bury anything on my own land except seed corn and the occasional fence post. But there I was at dawn, knee-deep in red Nebraska clay, sliding 3 rows of police-grade spike strips under a thin layer of dust on the private road that cuts across my 80 acres. Folks on the internet love to yell about shotguns and quick fixes, but I am 52, raised on patience and paperwork, and I had a better plan. My name is Jack Brennan, and this is the story of how one entitled neighbor in a white Escalade turned my quiet farm into a battlefield, and how I won it back without ever raising my voice or breaking a single law. It started on a Saturday in May, the kind of morning where the dew hangs heavy on the alfalfa, and the only sound is cattle lowing for breakfast. I was on the porch with my coffee when I heard the engine first, a high-revving snarl that did not belong out here. Then the SUV crested the rise like a shark cutting water, white paint gleaming, tires spitting clods of my topsoil in perfect arcs. It carved straight through my corn, flattened 2 rows before I could blink, and kept going. The driver, a woman in oversized sunglasses, waved like she was leading a parade. She disappeared toward the gated cul-de-sacs of Ridgewood Estates, leaving me standing there with my mug cooling and my blood heating. That was my introduction to Linda Hargrove, HOA Vice President and self-crowned shortcut queen. 2 days later she did it again, same hour, same path, same indifference. This time I walked out and flagged her down. She cracked the window 6 inches, air conditioning blasting my face. "Ma'am, this is private property. You are tearing up my crops." She smiled the way people do when they think you are the help. Their hazage has been a community easement since the 70s. Everyone uses it. "Not on my deed," I said. She actually laughed. "Then maybe you bought the wrong farm, Jack." And she eased around me like I was a pothole. I drove straight to my attorney, Sarah Klein, who pulled the title faster than I could finish my coffee. Clean as a whistle. No easement, no shared access, no footnote. Every tire track was trespass, plain and simple. You would think that would end it. It was only the beginning. By the 3rd pass, I had a trail camera bolted to a fence post. By the 5th, I had dates, times, and high-definition proof of ruts deep enough to plant potatoes in. I sent Linda a certified cease and desist. She signed for it on a Thursday and tossed the envelope out her window Friday morning, the paper fluttering across my field like expensive confetti. That was the moment I stopped asking nicely. Neighbors noticed. Old Tom Whitaker leaned on my fence one evening and said, "She thinks the world is one big subdivision, and she is the only one with a map." He was not wrong. Linda had been vice president of the Ridgewood HOA for 4 years and made a hobby of finding people for garbage cans left out 12 minutes too long or rose bushes 1 shade too pink. When she discovered my dirt road shaved 9 minutes off her commute to the interstate, she decided it was her birthright. I tried one last civil conversation. Caught her on a conference call near my gate. "Linda, you are costing me money and stressing my cattle. There is no easement." She sighed like I was a telemarketer. "My husband reviewed the plats years ago. This road is part of the community plan. Take it up with the county if you are confused." She drove off, gravel pinging my boots like buckshot. That night, I spread every document across the kitchen table. Deed, survey, tax maps, vet bills for a pregnant heifer named Buttercup who had started kicking the fence every time the Escalade roared past. Sarah's advice was simple. Document until a judge can taste the dirt in those ruts. So I did. Motion sensors, GPS loggers, reflective stakes, a second camera on a pole. I built a timeline a prosecutor could love. The sheriff's office sent Deputy Maria Lopez, young but thorough. She walked the property, frowned at the footage, and said, "Civil until I catch her red-handed, and she refuses to leave. Best I can do is talk." 2 hours later Maria called back. "She claims you are harassing her and waved photocopies of old subdivision maps. Look fake to me, but I cannot arrest belief. Keep logging." The logs grew thick. 23 incidents in 6 weeks. Buttercup miscarried after a particularly loud horn blast. Vet bill, for $100. Corn loss, 14 rows. Gate chain cut with bolt cutters, $450. I added Hank Whitaker's signed statement, my neighbor who had watched the white blur from his combine. Sarah warned me, no booby traps, no vigilante nonsense. But she pointed to a legal gray area, vehicle deterrence used by law enforcement to end high-speed chases safely. If you notify the sheriff in writing, post signs the size of billboards, and document every serial number, you can protect your land without risking a felony. I ordered 3 collapsible spike strips from a police supply catalog, invoice addressed to me, serial numbers photographed. I tested one on my own pickup in the back 40, filmed it, labeled the file. Then I designed signs no one could miss. Heavy aluminum, reflective red letters 2 feet tall. Private road, no through traffic, vehicle deterrent devices in use. Tire damage will occur, all activity recorded. I sank posts every 50 feet, took GPS-tagged photos, and emailed the package to Deputy Lopez. I will deploy within 7 days. Inspect anytime. Friday morning Maria arrived with coffee and a clipboard. She measured sign height, checked serial numbers, watched the test video. "Hard to miss," she said. "We will catalog everything if it goes south." She left me a patrol note for the file. Armor. Sunday night, I barely slept. Monday, 6:45 a.m. Hank rolled past in his grain truck and hollered, "Think she will show?" She never misses a Monday. I smiled without humor and watched the live feeds. 7:14, the white Escalade crested the rise, sunlight flashing off chrome. Linda never slowed. She blew past the first sign, the second, the third. At the first strip, the front tires hissed like snakes. Rear tires hit the second row and the SUV sagged, dragging on rims, sparks spitting. She rolled another 20 yards before the third strip finished the job. The Escalade lurched to a stop dead center on my road, dust swirling like a tornado in slow motion. I dialed dispatch as ordering feed. Jack Brennan, County Road 14. Trespasser disabled by posted deterrence. No injuries. Send a unit. Then I walked out to meet her. Linda exploded from the driver door, heels sinking in dirt. What in God's name did you do to my car? I stopped 10 feet away, phone recording. 6 written warnings, certified mail, 2 sheriff inspections, 30 signs. You ignored them all. This is private property. She kicked a flattened tire. You tried to murder me. These are illegal traps. I gestured to the gleaming warnings. Read the signs, Linda. You chose to drive anyway. She filmed me with shaking hands. I am being held hostage by a lunatic farmer. I spoke to her camera. Jack Brennan, owner. Mrs. Hargrove trespassed despite warnings. Deterrence deployed legally. No one injured. Blue lights appeared on the horizon. Maria stepped out, took one look at the scene, and asked for my folder. I handed over 6 months of proof. Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish on dry land. Maria wrote the citation, criminal trespass. Tow truck, 650 cash, plus mileage. Linda's black card declined twice before a backup worked. The driver winched the Escalade onto the flatbed while she stood in the dust, citation fluttering in her hand like a white flag she refused to wave. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived from her attorney. $42,000 in damages for reckless endangerment and emotional trauma. Sarah laughed so hard coffee came out her nose. They just handed us the courtroom. Our counterclaim, $28,000 actual plus punitive, every receipt attached. We mailed it certified to Linda, her husband the HOA president, and the association attorney. Silence for a week. Then the rumor mill caught fire. Assistant Treasurer Gloria Mendoza, a retired CPA with a spine of rebar, noticed monthly $8,000 legal retainers that smelled like personal expenses. She demanded the books. Forensic audit, $60,000 embezzled over 2 years, funneled through shell vendors and a landscaping cousin in Kansas City. Emergency HOA meeting. Linda and her husband suspended. Criminal probe opened. Court day in Lincoln. The gallery smelled of floor wax and nerves. Linda looked 10 years older in a borrowed suit. She pled guilty to trespass and property destruction. Judge ordered $8,000 restitution, 12 months probation, 500-foot stay away, and a 5-year ban from any HOA office. Embezzlement handled separately. Gavel down. Done. Linda sold the house, filed divorce, left the county. Gloria became president and sent me a notarized apology on Ridgewood letterhead. I framed it next to the deed. For months later, the corn stands tall, Buttercup's new calf nurses strong, and the road is quiet except for wind and the occasional hawk. The spike strips are locked in the barn, rusting peacefully. I never needed them again. Boundaries, once enforced with proof instead of pride, tend to stay respected. What about you? Ever had someone treat your life like their shortcut? Did you document and wait? Or did you swing first and regret later? Drop your story below. I read every one. And take a stand. When injustice rolls over your fence, do you meet it with a shotgun or a folder thick enough to stop a bullet? Speak up. The algorithm likes heat, but I like hearing from folks who have lived the fight.